What's up, guys? Craig Mack here, Liberty Bell Beekeepers. Welcome back. Today I was working on something on the shop lathe. I do wood turnings sometimes in my spare time. I enjoy it. It's therapeutic. It's a lot of fun. I started doing it a couple years ago, and I do wands, stuff like this. I give to the kids, my nieces and nephews, and whoever wants them. I do sell them too, especially around this time, Halloween. I do sell a few wands here and there. But I also, as you can see, goblets. I like to drink, so I make goblets pretty often. Some mugs, I've made some mugs. That's my dogs. I do make some mugs. Some of them I turned wet and have cracked. Although not cracked through, I could probably seal it or fill it with epoxy or something like that and do it. But from the looks of these and the amount of dust, you can see I haven't gotten too much wood turning done recently. Made some snowmen last year, some bowls. This one actually I made, and I don't think I'm ever going to sell it because I just love it so much. This is, I believe, a spalted silver maple. It's just a beautiful, beautiful piece of wood. So anyway, going back to the intention of the video, I was building my hives. I made a video about that yesterday on Christmas Day. I built a bunch of boxes, a bunch of supers, couple deep hive bodies, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do as far as an entrance with these. And today I was just kind of thinking about my barrel hive upstairs, and I decided to do a wooden circular entrance. Now, this is I believe a piece of oak. My neighbor, my landlord here, is an HVAC guy, and he gets big pallets of sheet metal, galvanized sheet metal, for making ductwork. And those big old heavy pallets most times have some nice looking oak runners on them. So I took one of those oak runners and turned it to 1.5 inches. I'm really out of focus there. Turned it to 1.5 inch cylinder, drilled a 1-inch hole in the center, and then sanded the bottom flat because I wanted it to kind of be easy for them to get out of the bottom board, dragging the dead bees out or just dragging themselves in and out. So I sanded it down to about 1/8 of an inch, a little less than 1/8. Used a 1 3/8 drill bit and my file, just a little combo rasp file. And just tap it in. So that's what I did for my entrances. Now, I love this entrance on the barrel hive. And I think the bees do too, honestly. It gives them something to land on, something easy to defend, but also easy enough to make their way in and out of. I mean, that's a 1-inch hole. That's big enough for them to get in and out safely and to defend. I think I can't remember on the barrel hive. I think that's a 1-inch opening also. But I think the diameter of the piece I made was thicker. It might even have been a little bit wider than 1 inch. I don't recall. But it fits nicely in the box. As you can see here, it sits nice and low on the bottom, and again, easy to defend, easy to climate control. Now I usually do an upper entrance in a shim board, so I don't worry too much about overheating. I get questions a lot about the roof because I am a rooftop beekeeper in an urban area. I get a lot of questions about heat. I don't think I deal with too big a deal because I always seem to have a breeze. Even on the hottest days, there's always air moving up there. at least somewhat. Now I did deal with bearding and those kind of issues. I think like everybody does, keeping Langstroth boxes and even some of the other style boxes, you deal with bearding. It gets hot in there. They move out. I've never witnessed it in a tree, but I don't know of many bee trees here in the city, unfortunately. So I like that circular entrance. I think it's more than adequate to get them to suit their needs. It worked really well for the barrel hive, and I'm curious to see how it works for this. I think it'll work just fine. And realistically, I've cut enough bees out of enough places that they use all kind of stuff. When it comes to getting into a cavity, they will travel back several inches, sometimes further, to get to the cavity. Generally speaking, if I had to speak generally, just running through my brain, I don't think I've ever seen one that goes past like a foot. And I think that's even pushing it. Most of the time, I think I've seen them where, you know, they're able to get to comb within a foot. So their entrance might be, you know, 6 inches deep, and within 6 inches of entering that cavity, they're able to hit comb. So I think this kind of thing works. I lost my train of thought of why I even brought that up, but it doesn't matter. That's my entrance. Let me show you how I did it. So like I said, I was using the lathe. I love wood turning. It's very therapeutic for me, and just fun. I just love doing it. I got a bunch of my gouges and chisels and what have you. This I used a 1-inch angled skew chisel. I've been working on skew chisel techniques recently, this year specifically, this fall and winter. A skew chisel is this tool right here. These can sometimes be tricky for new turners. They can be tricky for old turners. A lot of people don't use them because they require a certain level of finesse, and they got to be good and sharp. But you can make a round from, you can see this was a square plug. I just made it round, and I only used this chisel. So when it's square, you're going to run the chisel at an angle, something, 30 to 45 degrees, depends on what you feel comfortable with, and you really have to figure it out for yourself. I think it's more like between 15 and 30 degrees blade to the material, and you want to cut, if you consider this and break that blade up into 3, you want to cut in the center portion of that when you're doing what they call a planing cut. That's when you're taking something that's not round and making it round. So that's how I did that. Now you can accomplish cuts like this by doing the same thing, just moving your chisel along and cutting deeper as you go. Or you can do some other techniques as well. Let's see if I can't do something here. Now, in order to make those kind of tubes, you got to drill the hole out in the center. Same with making goblets and even bowls to a degree. Mostly with goblets, candle holders, those kind of things. So this piece is secured in my lathe using a chuck. The chuck spins, and then I'll press this. You can do this a couple of ways. Probably safest to do it not the way I'm going to do it. But let's see if I can't get a good shot of this. Okay, so I'm going to keep this headstock, the tailstock, nice and sturdy, nice and flat on the bed. And I'm just going to press this into my material. Now my chuck's a little bit loose, so I got to tighten that up. Now you can lock this into place and use the crank here to move it forward. I've done this a bunch of times and I feel comfortable doing this. It's going to make a little bit of noise. And I went a little too aggressive there. We're going to just slip this in a little slower. And that's going to cut out the center hole for me. That's brutal, I'm sorry. I'll edit that down later. So now that I have that hole drilled, like I said, I'm going to just use my skew chisel at that 30 degree. I want to hit the center of the chisel, and that's going to be my planing cut. As you can see there, I can bring it over here to give you a little bit better idea. I'll come back this way, and I can make that cut the same way. Center of the blade. This you kind of got to ride a little bit on the top of the material. You're not going to scrape some of the material. Some of the tools you seat lower and you cut from below. The skew chisel work is mostly done up high. And as you can see, I can do those nice planing cuts. I can get a nice, really smooth finish with a single pass that requires, I mean, you can see it has a shine. I can do that, and the sanding becomes that much easier. So in order to do a round over like this, we're going to pick a dimension. This is 1 inch, so I'm going to mark roughly 1 inch. If I wanted to do a round over or a bead, I'm going to use the bottom portion of my chisel, get that to go in, and we're going to roll it over just like that. Now you can even, what you usually do is you'll cut into the material with the tip and flip it back over, and then use the bottom edge again to dig in. And as you can see, you can create yourself a nice little bead. And that's how I rounded the entrances over. Now to cut this off, I can use this same chisel to do a plunge cut. And I can make my bead a little deeper. And that's not quite even a bead, there we go. Now I know I'm getting close to the inside of this material, to my cavity, to the drilled out space. So I can just cut this in and let this piece fall to the ground, or I can continue to cut it out with that other cut, that bead. Boom. There's my 1.5 inch tube by, I don't know, whatever this is, 2 inches. Round it over on the edge. And honestly, you don't even have to sand this if you don't want. You could. I did the other ones just to make it flat, but not for a finish. You don't have to sand it for a finish. Now, I took it over here to my belt sander, and I'll just put a flat spot on it to put it into another box when I make them. But I just wanted to show you that little technique. I love doing this stuff. I love making these things. I love having the ability to make them. I love being able to use different tools and different skill sets to make this fun. I mean, I'm always trying to tell that to people. Have fun doing this. You can't do this stuff? Great. Watch my videos and live vicariously through me. Or find a way to do it. Find a friend that does some woodworking. Maybe, try something simple like making a tube. And the next thing you know, you're making vases or whatever it is for your friends and family for your holiday presents. And believe me, people absolutely love it when you make them stuff, much more so than any store-bought gift. So, once again, made those entrances. I'm excited to get these boxes out. I haven't yet to decide what I'm going to do as far as a finish. I'm probably just going to use that stain and sealer that I have because I have it. And I already paid money for it, so I'm not going to pay money for anything else. Thanks for watching as always, guys. Hope you had a Merry Christmas and enjoy yourself and are looking forward to a good new year. Stay strong out there. Get right in your mind. Get right with yourself, and you'll be just fine.